The stars were beginning to stretch their sleepy arms across the velvet sky, blinking slowly as night tucked itself gently over the town. At the very edge of the quiet neighborhood, where the houses turned into whispering trees and the sidewalk curved like a question mark, there sat a tiny bus stop with a rainbow-painted roof. It was called Rainbow Corner. The little wooden bench inside was painted with soft pastel stripes, pinks, blues, lavender, and lemon yellow, and above it hung a round lantern that glowed like a sleepy firefly. The soft hum of night wrapped around the stop like a blanket, and the cool breeze carried the smell of lavender and marshmallow clouds. Please subscribe to our channel and tell me in comments from where are you watching this video. At this very special corner, when the rest of the world was yawning its way into sleep, something magical happened each night. A soft rumble, so gentle it could have been a purring kitten, would echo in the distance. Then a shimmer of stardust would fall from the trees. And if you listened closely, really closely, you could hear the faint jingle of sleepy chimes. Tonight, a little mouse named Bobo sat at Rainbow Corner, his tiny backpack tucked neatly at his feet. He wore a soft knitted scarf made from dream thread yarn and held a small ticket in his paw. It was shaped like a cloud and shimmered with every color of the rainbow. Next to him, curled up and blinking slowly, was a hedgehog named Peppa, who had fallen asleep waiting. Her nose twitched with each gentle breeze, and her little dreams were already tiptoeing around her like snowflakes. Bobo looked at the glowing bus schedule written in swirls and sparkles. Next stop. He whispered, reading aloud, Pillow Peak, Dream Feather Forest, and the Milky Way Marshmallow Fields. He smiled softly, his whiskers twitching. The sleepy bus would be here soon. And tonight, it would carry every dreamer, big or small, on a peaceful, star-dusted ride to the loveliest places sleep could imagine. The lantern above the bench flickered gently. The leaves above whispered, it's almost time, and Bobo snuggled deeper into his scarf, his ears perked for the sound of that magical bus arriving through the misty moonlight. The moon peeked through the clouds like a sleepy guardian, casting soft silver puddles of light along the winding road near Rainbow Corner. Bobo swayed his tiny legs gently back and forth as he waited on the pastel-striped bench, his ears twitching at every soft sound. Somewhere far off, an owl gave a drowsy hoot, not the kind that startles, but the kind that sounds like it's yawning mid-song. It echoed gently through the trees like a lullaby hum, making the leaves above flutter and shimmer, as if they too were brushing their teeth and preparing for bed. Peppa the hedgehog, still curled on the corner of the bench, gave a sleepy snuffle and blinked her little eyes open. She stretched her tiny paws upward and whispered, is it here yet, Bobo? Not yet, Bobo replied, holding up his glimmering ticket. But it's almost time. I saw the mist moving in from the marshmallow fields. Peppa yawned, her soft quills rustling like dry grass in the breeze. She reached into her small acorn bag and pulled out a dreamberry muffin, a special bedtime treat she always carried. She broke it in half and offered a piece to Bobo, who accepted it with a smile. Just then, the wind began to shift, just a little. The kind of shift that feels like a lullaby playing on invisible strings. The bushes across the road shimmered softly, and the puddles of moonlight on the sidewalk began to ripple. And then, a sound. Very soft at first. A gentle hum, low and slow, like a giant sigh mixed with a warm cup of cocoa. The sound of spinning wheels, but not like regular wheels, these sounded like they were made of cloud puffs and jelly beans. Peppa sat up straighter. Do you hear it? Bobo nodded, his eyes twinkling with excitement. It's coming. From the edge of the forest, where the trees arched like sleepy hugs, came a slow glowing light. It wasn't a car light or a torch. It was a soft rainbow glow, like candlelight dipped in dreams. The sleepy bus had arrived. It rolled gently into view, its wheels not quite touching the ground. They hovered a whisper above the road, glowing with tiny twinkling stars. The body of the bus shimmered like silk and moonlight woven together. Along its side were painted tiny scenes, children sleeping on clouds, kittens wrapped in blankets, stars winking and yawning. And on the front of the bus, in swirling sparkly letters, were the words, "Sleepy Line Number 1, Destination, Dreamland." The doors of the bus opened with a soft shhhh, like a bedtime story turning its final page. From the top step, a sleepy turtle in a conductor's hat peeked out. He had tiny round glasses and a glowing badge that said, "Captain Snooze." "Tickets, please," he said in a cozy voice, smiling at Bobo and Peppa. Bobo stepped forward proudly and held out his glowing rainbow ticket. Peppa followed, offering hers with a tiny sleepy curtsy. "Ah yes," said Captain Snooze. "The two dream adventurers from Rainbow Corner. You're just in time." He gently helped Peppa up the stairs, and Bobo followed, their little paws patting across the soft squishy carpet of the bus, which smelled faintly of honey and moondrops. Inside the bus, it was warm and glowing. The seats were clouds. Not like real clouds, these were soft, puffy dream clouds that shaped themselves to each rider. Some cradled passengers like hammocks. Others offered gentle rocking as if they were sailing through air. Each window showed not the street outside, but a starry sea of floating dreams, children drifting by on stars, kittens curled on floating petals, lanterns dancing through the night sky. "Find a cloud you like," said Captain Snooze gently. "We'll be making stops at Sleepy Meadow, Giggle Grove, Snore Falls, and then Rainbow Valley. Please remain cozy." Bobo found a window seat that wrapped around him like a nest, and Peppa picked one that warmed her toes just right. As the bus began to float slowly forward, the lights dimmed to a golden glow, and soft music began to play. It sounded like lullabies played on the wings of butterflies, slow, swaying notes that made the world melt into quiet calm. Peppa leaned her head against the seat and whispered, "This is the coziest thing I've ever felt." Bobo nodded. "It's like dreaming while still awake." The sleepy bus rolled gently forward, its glowing wheels spinning with sparkles, as the bus full of sleepy friends drifted deeper into the magical night, on the most peaceful ride to dreamland ever imagined. The sleepy bus glided along the whispering road, which wasn't really a road anymore, not in the way most buses travel. This path curved and floated through glowing meadows and low-hanging clouds, where dream creatures waved as the bus drifted by. A family of floating jellyfish lanterns blinked their glowing tendrils in greeting. Moon moths flitted beside the windows like soft candlelight. Peppa reached a paw toward the glass, and one little moth gently tapped its wings as if saying hello. Inside, everything was quiet and hushed, but not in a lonely way. It was the kind of quiet that felt warm, like being wrapped in a favorite blanket while a bedtime story played softly in the background. Captain Snooze gently adjusted the glowing wheel at the front of the bus, humming a little lullaby that only sleepy turtles knew. It sounded like slow waves brushing the shore of a dream. The bus soon floated into their first stop, Sleepy Meadow. Outside, tiny lights floated between dandelions and soft hills. The grass shimmered with silver dew, and rabbits wearing nightcaps bounced along a path lined with twinkling mushrooms. The bus paused, and the doors opened with a gentle shhhh. A small group of creatures stepped on board, a chubby raccoon clutching a pillow shaped like a banana, a pair of ducklings wrapped in matching blankets, and a long-eared hare yawning so wide, her whiskers wiggled. They all whispered sleepy hellos, found their cozy cloud seats, and settled in, their eyes already drooping. Then, with a soft chiming bell, the bus set off again. Peppa leaned closer to Bobo and asked, "Where do you think Snore Falls is?" "It sounds splashy." Bobo giggled through a yawn. "Maybe it's a waterfall made of dreams?" Just then, the windows began to shift. Not just the views, but the feeling of the air, everything began to smell like soft rain and lavender tea. Outside, misty clouds curled around enormous, glowing waterfalls that didn't rush or roar. Instead, they whispered as they fell. The drops weren't made of water, but of shimmering light, like melted stars, dripping slowly into a soft blue lake. "This is it," Captain Snooze said from the front. "Snore Falls. Please breathe in the dreams, but not too deeply, or you'll fall asleep before we reach Rainbow Valley." The children on the bus giggled softly, and Peppa watched a glowing fish jump from one waterfall to another, leaving trails of glitter in the air. As the bus floated through Snore Falls, gentle mist seeped in through the open windows, not cold, not wet, just dreamy. The kind of mist that smells like stories and hugs and the softest lullabies. Peppa's eyes blinked slowly. Bobo curled a little tighter in his cloud seat. Even the moon outside seemed to dim just a little, lowering itself to peek through the windows and watch the sleepy passengers float by. In one seat, the ducklings were already dozing, their beaks nestled against each other, tiny snores drifting like feathers through the bus. The raccoon snuggled deeper into his banana pillow, and the long-eared hare had tucked her ears under her blanket like a cozy hat. And then, a soft sound. Plink, plink, plink. The sound of gentle stardrops tapping the top of the sleepy bus. Peppa sat up slowly, blinking. Is it raining, stars? Bobo rubbed his eyes. I think we're going through the star path. Outside, little stars were drifting downward, not falling, not crashing, but floating like sleepy fireflies. Some were silver, some were soft blue, and a few even had tiny faces that smiled sleepily and gave sleepy winks to those watching. One landed on the window and stuck for a moment, twinkling like a wink before gently bouncing away. Captain Snooze turned and whispered, "We'll be entering Rainbow Valley soon. If you look closely, you might spot the dream mirrors. But only if your heart is still and your eyes are almost closed." Peppa clutched her tiny backpack and whispered to Bobo, "Do you think we'll see them?" Bobo nodded, though he was already halfway dreaming. "I think so. If we stay very quiet and let our thoughts float like feathers." And so, the sleepy bus continued on, through soft glowing clouds and magical forests, collecting dreams like gentle fireflies in a jar, as every corner of the world hushed itself to sleep. The sleepy bus sailed slowly through a velvet sky filled with floating cotton candy clouds and soft, glowing lanterns that drifted like jellyfish through the air. Peppa the panda and Bobo the bunny sat together, wrapped in their tiny blankets, their heads resting gently against each other. The hum of the bus was now a lullaby of its own, slow, rhythmic, and comforting. It felt like being rocked in a cradle built from moonlight and clouds. Outside the window, the world began to shift again. The mist parted to reveal something wondrous, the entrance to Rainbow Valley. But this wasn't just any rainbow. The road ahead turned into a curved ribbon of shimmering colors, rising gently into the air. It glowed not in bold, bright stripes, but in soft pastel waves that shimmered like bubbles in the sun. Rose pinks, cotton blues, lemon creams, and whispering lilacs danced beneath the bus wheels as it floated onto the glowing path. "Oh wow," Peppa whispered. "It's like we're riding on a dream," Bobo mumbled, his eyes heavy. As they traveled up the rainbow bridge, the stars above seemed to follow. But these stars weren't far away anymore. No, they gently floated alongside the bus, some even giggled as they peeked through the windows. One tiny star tapped gently on Peppa's glass. She opened the window just a crack, and the star whispered, in a voice as small as a snowflake, "You're doing so well, little traveler. Rainbow Valley is a special place for hearts like yours." Peppa smiled sleepily and whispered back, "Thank you." The star gave a twirl and floated away, leaving behind a tiny silver sparkle that drifted into the bus like a feather. Soon, the sleepy bus reached the other side of the rainbow and entered a soft, rolling valley where everything shimmered gently. There were tiny hills that looked like scoops of marshmallow, and trees with leaves that glowed like fairy lights. A peaceful river flowed in slow loops, not rushing or splashing, just humming a tune that only the moon could hear. This was Rainbow Valley. And it was even dreamier than Peppa had imagined. Captain Snooze gently brought the bus to a stop beside a sparkling pond, where lily pads glowed faintly and frogs wore tiny sleeping masks. The bus door opened with a soft whoosh, and a lovely hush drifted inside, like the valley itself was breathing out a bedtime sigh. More passengers climbed aboard, gentle forest creatures with cozy hats, sleepy star puffs wrapped in glow blankets, and even a tiny baby cloud carrying a bedtime book. everyone was quiet. Everyone was peaceful. Every creature found their seat and nestled in with a soft of comfort. Peppa turned to Bobo and whispered, "I think this is where dreams live." Bobo nodded slowly. "I think we're inside one now." Captain Snooze turned down the lights a little more. The glow in the bus became soft and golden, like warm candlelight. A soft breeze drifted in through the windows, carrying the scent of warm milk and honey. And outside, the trees began to hum. Not in words. Not in music. But in a feeling. The feeling you get when someone tucks you in and kisses your forehead and says, "You're safe." In Rainbow Valley, everything sang a silent lullaby. The sleepy bus didn't move for a while. It just rested, letting everyone feel the peace around them. Peppa slowly closed her eyes. Bobo's head tilted to the side, his ears flopping gently. Even the ducklings, the raccoon, the cloud baby, everyone was beginning to drift into a gentle dream. Some snuggled deeper into their seats. Some clutched tiny toys or blankets. Some simply smiled in their sleep. Captain Snooze tiptoed down the aisle and pulled up soft dream curtains, gently covering each row like a parent tucking in their children. And as the valley glowed under a sleepy moon, the bus lights dimmed to match the rhythm of breathing. In and out. In and out. Until it felt like the entire bus was breathing together. The stars outside slowed their twinkle. The trees swayed just slightly in a soft, invisible breeze. The river whispered a little slower, like it, too, was preparing for sleep. And Peppa, wrapped in her cloud seat in soft dreams, whispered one last thing before her eyes closed completely: "I hope we never reach the end." And in response, a soft voice from the stars said, "Dreams don't end, little one. They just float." The sleepy bus stirred softly, like a feather brushing against a pillow. With a gentle hum, it glided once more into motion, not loudly, not quickly, but slowly, like a leaf drifting on a quiet river. The wheels didn't turn as much as they shimmered across the soft glowing grass of Rainbow Valley, leaving behind sparkles that faded like fireflies falling asleep. Peppa the panda and Bobo the bunny didn't open their eyes completely this time. They blinked once. Twice. And then just let their eyes rest half-closed, enjoying the comfort of the ride. Captain Snooze's voice floated through the air like a whisper wrapped in a lullaby. Next stop. Twinkleberry Grove, where the dreams are made of stardust and sweet wishes. A soft murmur of excitement passed through the sleepy passengers, not loud, just the kind of happy feeling you get when you hear the word story time or smell cookies baking. Outside the window, Twinkleberry Grove came into view. Imagine a forest, but every leaf was shaped like a little silver bell. And when the wind passed through, the forest chimed a lullaby of its own, a soft, tinkling song, as if 1,000 tiny wind chimes were telling you bedtime was near. The trees were short and round, with trunks like cushions and leaves like music notes. Little lights dangled from their branches, and between them danced glowing butterflies with wings made of wishes. The bus slowed down again, pulling into a tiny round clearing where fireflies danced in slow circles. Each firefly blinked in a gentle rhythm, blink, 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 blink. Like a heartbeat. Like the rhythm of sleep. More dream creatures joined the ride here. A hedgehog in tiny pajamas. A baby bear clutching a star-shaped pillow. And a little mouse who carried a glowing acorn that softly purred when she held it close. They all boarded quietly. There were no tickets on the sleepy bus. Only yawns. And yawns were given freely. As the ride continued, Captain Snooze dimmed the bus lights just a little more. The curtains were now drawn halfway, letting in just enough starlight to keep the bus glowing with gentle golden shimmer. The air smelled like peppermint tea and bedtime hugs. Peppa shifted in her seat and smiled in her sleep. Bobo's paw twitched slightly, like he was dreaming of hopping across clouds. Outside the windows, the scenery changed once again. Now the bus floated gently across a dream bridge made of moonbeams, long, glowing strands that stretched across the sky like sleepy spider silk. And under the bridge? A sea of dreams. Not water, but dreams. Floating shapes and colors, soft pink boats carrying laughter, blue bubbles filled with giggles, tiny islands where dreams grew like flowers and bloomed into ideas, wishes, and kindness. One dream below shimmered in the shape of a treehouse where a kitten read books by a firefly lamp. Another looked like a castle made of warm blankets, with tiny dragons snoozing in hammocks. The passengers on the bus didn't speak. They just watched. And breathed. And dreamed with their eyes open. Captain Snooze turned the wheel gently, guiding the sleepy bus in loops and curves so that everyone could see all the sleepy sights. He softly played a tune on the dashboard, a gentle lullaby made from stardust chimes and velvet notes. It was the kind of music that didn't ask for attention. It simply filled the space between dreams. In the back of the bus, the mouse leaned on her glowing acorn and whispered, "This is the softest night in the world." And she was right. No one was worried. No one was left out. Everyone was cozy. Everyone was safe. The sleepy bus didn't need to go anywhere fast. It was already where dreams lived. Peppa's breathing slowed. Bobo curled up tighter, his nose gently twitching as he smiled. Even Captain Snooze blinked slowly, feeling the soft pull of slumber under the gentle rhythm of the ride. The moon outside drifted a little lower, as if settling in for a nap of its own. And the clouds parted just enough to let the stars peek down, watching the passengers like sleepy parents keeping an eye on their little ones. Twinkleberry Grove faded behind them, and the moonbeam bridge gently led them toward the sleepiest, quietest part of the night. The bus rolled softer. The lights dimmed warmer. And all the creatures aboard began to slip slowly, tenderly, into their dreamlands. Some dreamt of picnics in the sky. Some dreamt of building blanket forts with rainbow bricks. Some dreamt of hugging soft cloud animals and giggling as they bounced from star to star. And some simply dreamed of resting, held in a cozy seat, on a magic bus, with no worries and all the time in the world. Because here, time didn't matter. Only peace did. And peace was everywhere. The sleepy bus coasted down the final stretch of the moonbeam bridge, as if floating through a lullaby that had no last note, just soft, quiet hums of comfort that wrapped around the bus like a warm blanket. Captain Snooze gently tapped the edge of his velvet steering wheel, and the stars above responded by twinkling slower, like they too were starting to doze off. One by one, the passengers were sinking into dreamland. Peppa the panda was curled up in her seat, clutching a tiny plush mushroom with a smile on her furry face. In her dream, she was flying slowly over marshmallow meadows, dipping her paws in cotton clouds and laughing in that warm, giggly way only dreams can make you laugh. Bobo the bunny had slumped against a sleepy cloudfish, who had gently bobbed its way onto the bus just after Twinkleberry Grove. The bunny's ears twitched as he dreamt of floating islands made of pancakes, where jelly beans grew on trees and bedtime songs drifted on soft breezes. The hedgehog in pajamas had leaned against a glowing window, her tiny paw resting on a tiny book she never got to finish, because her eyes had closed gently mid-page. In her dreams, the story continued without her even needing to turn a page. A magical tale about fireflies who knit dreams into scarves to keep children warm through the night. The bus moved slower now. Not because it had to, but because it wanted to. Because sometimes, the best part of the journey is the part right before home, when everything feels still and quiet and just right. Captain Snooze looked over his shoulder, seeing all his passengers softly breathing in the glow of dreamlight. He turned a delicate crystal dial above the steering wheel, and soft lavender light filled the air like fog made of wishes. The next stop sign shimmered into view. But instead of words, it had a symbol, a little house, a big blanket, and a twinkling star overhead. Home. The stop was simply called home. And that meant something different for everyone on the bus. For some, home was a cozy bed under a canopy of glow-in-the-dark stars. For others, home was a hug, a lullaby, a favorite teddy, or the scent of warm bedtime cocoa. But tonight, the sleepy bus had become home too, just for a while. A safe place where you didn't need to be anything but sleepy. The bus gently glided into a magical rest stop surrounded by dream trees, each with hammocks made of whispering wind and little nests of mossy cushions. A waterfall of moonlight trickled quietly nearby, where sleepy frogs blinked slowly and sang lullabies without words. One by one, each creature softly stepped off the bus. Not in a rush. Not with noise. But with the calm, cozy steps of someone who's halfway between waking and dreaming. Peppa wandered to a little hill shaped like a pillow and settled in, her blanket fluttering around her like butterfly wings. Bobo found a hollow log lined with feathers and curled inside it with a yawn so big and slow it made a nearby owl yawn too. The hedgehog crawled into a hammock shaped like a teacup inside, just right. Even Captain Snooze, after gently parking the sleepy bus beneath a glowing tree of dreams, hung up his velvet cap, tiptoed to a soft patch of grass, and lay down with a quiet, content smile. The stars blinked slower. The clouds hung lower, hugging the hilltops. And the moon, big and kind and sleepy, peeked through a curtain of mist to say, "Good night, little ones. Dream deep, dream wide." Then the wind whispered through the trees. Not a loud wind, but the kind that kisses your cheeks and says, "You're safe. You're warm. You're home now." And the sleepy bus, with all its sparkling trails and whispering wheels, dimmed its lights and rested too, as if it had dreams of its own. The world felt still. The night was wrapped in velvet. The sky, a cozy dome of peace. And if you listen very closely now, you might just hear it, the last soft chime of the sleepy bus, calling gently through your dreams, inviting you aboard for tomorrow night's ride. But for now, your eyes are heavier than clouds. Your breath is slower than stars. And your dreams? They're already waiting. You are safe. You are loved. And you are ready for the sweetest dreams tonight.